The New South Wales government is going to start buying up property. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article from the Sydney Morning Herald because, well, it is the embodiment, wrong chart, it is the embodiment of government intervention into the economy. They're just going up and buying up spare housing in a $500 million stimulus plan. What do you think, guys? What do you reckon? I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. They could be demolishing buildings and then replacing them with new buildings. It could always be worse. With government, it could. Maybe I'm just getting too cynical now. The Berejiklian government is considering a $500 million property spending spree, snapping up unsold apartments and fast-tracking construction as part of its pandemic economic recovery plan. Now, I don't think the New South Wales government should encourage the fast-tracking of anything, considering the number of building disasters they've had there. I will bring up Google Earth and show you what I like to call the triangle of fail. A cabinet briefing paper prepared by the government's Land and Housing Corporation says a housing-focused stimulus package would accelerate development and boost employment in New South Wales. So, housing in New South Wales. Let's have a look here. We'll just look at the property prices. See Sydney? Second line from the top, the light blue one. Let's look at housing affordability. I know this chart's a bit old, but it's climbed. So once again, we've got a government wanting to stimulate the economy by stimulating the construction sector. We've got a housing bubble here in Australia, brought about by negative gearing used by everyone, by population growth, by housing grants, repeated housing grants at federal and state level. We've got a housing bubble. Doesn't anyone see that? So they want to push more money into it. There's cries of housing affordability, and yet they're doing everything to create a housing bubble. Did they not see that? The paper, which is marked Cabinet in Confidence and obtained by the Sydney Morning Herald, says supporting the construction industry will be a key element of the economic recovery after the crisis. It recommends a three-staged approach, which would include $160 million for shovel-ready projects and could see the construction of 300 social housing dwellings start within 16 weeks. Another 360 dwellings could be underway within the next 30 weeks, with 190 in funding, and a third $200 million stage will be for housing for people displaced as a result of the pandemic. What about the large number of people that are giving up rental accommodation? What about all the property that's being flooded at the market? What about all the hotels that are 80% empty? So we just need to build more. The paper identifies 8 developments that already have approval in local government areas, including Canterbury, Bankstown, Liverpool and Newcastle, as well as projects that include opportunities to purchase dwellings off the plan. You've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. The New South Wales government is looking at buying off the plan. I'm not a fan of off the plan purchases for a number of reasons. We'll jump over here. Let's have a look at some of those reasons. These are all buildings with construction issues. Off the plan, well, you don't know what you're getting. It's often design and construct procurement, which is a problem on a lot of these projects. I call this triangle of fail. Zetland, Mascot, Sugar Cube, all around here. You've got issues in all these buildings, guys. And it's all throughout Australia. Why are they looking at buying off the plan? We've heard stories that, well, disaster after disaster for the last year of off the plan issues. And now the government, the New South Wales government, is going to take on off the plan purchases. Going to take on debt to buy these off the plan purchases. Going to burden taxpayers in their state with off the plan purchases. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Maybe they could look at cutting $500 million in costs to people in the economy. What about if they just cut some of their fuel excises? Try and stimulate the economy like that. Let the market adjust itself rather than perpetuating a property bubble again. You've got a generation that's going to have no chance of getting into property. This is the one hope they have. It lists several... I've already read that. Oh, sorry. There's several projects in Parramatta, Westmead and South Granville where the government could negotiate with the developer to buy dozens of unsold apartments. This would afford the Land and Housing Corporation the opportunity to either on-sell or at a later date or keep as part of the Land and Housing Corporation social housing stock, it said. I mean, would you be happy if you bought into a development and then the government came in and bought up all the other units and turned it into public housing? Do you think that would affect the value of your property? And don't get me wrong, it depends, frankly, with public housing, it depends on the tenants that you have. We've got a house in our street that's public housing. The last tenants were utterly horrible. New people, perfectly fine, quite nice. It all depends on the tenants. But would that affect, if you were living next door to 5 of them, would that affect the value of your property? So purchasing these properties now would not impact current cash flow. A spokeswoman for Housing Minister Belinda Pavey said the document was prepared to provide feedback to Federal Housing Minister Michael Sukkar for possible federal housing stimulus funding. It was not intended for New South Wales Cabinet, the spokeswoman said. The paper says a housing-focused stimulus package would greatly benefit a range of small businesses, workers in the construction and trade industries, and provide long-lasting benefits for the community housing sector and their clients. The combination of government land and accelerated planning approvals can stimulate the economy and aid economic recovery, and a phased approach will ensure industry sees government commitment to a pipeline of development and ongoing employment, the paper says. This approach was successfully taken in 2009 during the GFC. No, it wasn't. The GFC, Australia got lucky because China increased demand for our resources. We're still paying off the GFC costs. GFC, the building education revolution, we ploughed lots of money into education. We were going to get all these benefits. I just need to find the chart. We were going to get all these benefits from that money and debt taken on. We got none. Our education's going down. This is more market intervention. And I, of all people, I'm an architect. I'm in this industry. I would benefit. I still don't think it's good. But a lot of people, sometimes you've got to step back and think of the bigger picture. I think it'll be better in the long term if they let the market sort itself out rather than intervene. About 390,000 people are employed in the housing, construction and property industries in New South Wales. Land and Housing Corporation has large land holdings which can be developed into social and market housing. The Housing Corporation says it has several unfunded new dwelling projects within its portfolio that, if funded, could move their current state to construction. It is important to highlight government's procurement rules preventing the Land and Housing Corporation from tendering projects unless funding is secured, the paper said. Gabrielle Metcalfe, the Chief Executive of Committee for Sydney, has written to Premier Gladys, urging social and affordable housing to be part of the fiscal stimulus. It's a way to keep the construction sector going through the recession and one solution for Sydney's affordability challenge. We believe there is an opportunity to stimulate a sector of the economy that will have major headwinds. Okay, or you could allow prices to go down. You could allow some of these properties now on the East Coast, which are getting 15%, 10% less rent, let them lose their value of it. Let the shine be taken off. Maybe people wouldn't need all this bloody housing, government housing, handout housing, social housing, if you didn't tax them all to the hilt. You didn't take all their money off them. People don't realize how much tax we pay. You've got your income tax, GST, extra taxes on petrol, land taxes, fishing taxes, probably dog walking taxes, vehicle taxes, everything. Every levy, stamp duty, all these taxes. And they go, why can't people afford this? Or why don't people have any money aside? Probably because the government takes it off everyone. Even with fast-track approvals, there'll be a lot of housing development that cannot go ahead in the next few years. That's the thing we don't want. We don't want more fast push-through housing, particularly in New South Wales. You guys aren't good at it. Private sector developers are dealing with low demand, which could last for a long time, both due to declining consumer confidence and reduced population growth. Banks will be hesitant to loan money for developments without consumer demand. We therefore urge the government to further its stimulus in a sector that will make an enormous impact on a vulnerable community. I would argue we need to look at smarter ways to approach this. This is just doing the same old stuff over and over again. And of course, these are special interest groups using this economic situation to try and leverage more money out of the government for themselves. And I'm sure they mean well, but nevertheless, I'd rather we create special economic regions around the country with ultra low, no payroll tax, no capital gains tax on any property you make there. You don't pay any company tax for 5 years in that area. Increase employment. Make it easier for people to develop businesses there, build there. Maybe some energy infrastructure that isn't just renewable, that only works half the time. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Do you think they're just going to do the same old stuff again? They probably will. As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you want to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or on Patreon. You can support us via affiliate links at Amazon or eBay, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch from the HeiseSays blog. Find the link in the pinned comment below. Send us gold using Gold Pass from the Perth Mint. And finally, support us via PayPal. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.